You can see here a pile of crud that's come out, and you know, this thing's never been cleaned, and we're talking of a weapon here that is a machine, and you wouldn't not have your car serviced, would you? You'd change the oil, you'd change the filters. So it's not just the gun you've got to clean, you want to keep every part of it right, and I'd take a bet that this has never been cleaned. And again, it's not going to need doing often. In fact, I may need to do it in the time I keep the gun. Once a year, if that. Maybe less if I'm using it less. But just occasionally everything needs cleaning up. Now you may prefer to leave these dry and not oil them, because the oil could attract more stuff to stick to them. I prefer to have a little oil on mine because I want to make sure that they're moving correctly, not sticking at all within the cylinder of the silencer of the sound moderator. But just look at all of this stuff here now, look. There's a pile there nearly an inch high that would have stayed in there if we hadn't cleaned it out. Now, having got those done, for me I'm just going to put a light spray of oil over them. Make sure that they're not going to rust at all in there. Do the same with the other parts. And then we can put those back together, reassemble them. Always one, isn't there? See, my trick here is that I have my opinel knife tied to me so that I always know where it is, it doesn't get lost. In case you get an emergency like this or you're fishing or hunting, you want to be able to get your knife fast and have it tied to my belt. There we go. And finally, the washer and the spring, and we screw back in the end of the sound moderator, and that then is running and ready to go again, so it goes back on the rifle. But first we've got to get rid of all this mess off the outside of it, and wash my hands, keep things absolutely pristine and clean. We don't want mess on the rifle. We'll tidy up this before we carry on to do the shotgun. Okay, the sound moderator is now put together again, and we'll just screw that back on the end of the barrel. Nice and tight. There we go, I'll give it a wipe over. The point is that if you leave your hand marks all over a gun, they are going to rust. So when you pick up a gun, try not to hold the metal, try hold the wood, and if you do, then give it a wipe over afterwards. And we'll put back in the bolt, which has been cleaned now. Pull the trigger, and the bolt will go in, ready to go. Remember, never pull the trigger on a rifle or a shotgun unless there is a snap cap or dummy cartridge in there, because there's nothing for the firing pin to go against, and that can break off the firing pin. So now let's go on to the shotgun. Now, cleaning a shotgun. And this part that I'm going to show you is very similar for the rifle as well. So we've got here 2 cleaning rods. I'm just lazy, you could have just one. The ends take off. This is a phosphor bronze brush at this end, and at this one is a mop for the oil. And with the 2-2 we have a much narrower rod, obviously, a metal one, which has smaller phosphor bronze brush on and a smaller mop. Right, to make this easy and not hurt yourself, first obviously we have to take the gun apart. So we take off the fore end, like that. We take off the stock to the barrels. And the thing with this is that this has a special oil. The wood has a gun stock finishing polish or oil. We try not to get the gun cleaning oils onto the wood or into the edges, especially in the edges here where it would start to actually rot the wood. It's the wrong sort of oil for wood. So we use a different oil for the wood. All we're going to do is get the oil where the metal parts required. Just a wipe over on the outside surfaces so we don't get them too much muck sticking to them, but it's the barrels I want to show you how to clean. So first of all, we've got 2 pieces of tissue here, and I make those into a bullet shape and push them down into the end of the barrel like that. Easy as that. 1, 2, a bullet shape down the end of the barrel, and then use the end of your rod to push those down through. Mind your hands, As it comes at the end, look, quite filthy. You can see that hasn't been done. There we are, and that's got the worst of the muck out. See, they're quite mucky and dark, those. Having done that, watch your fingers, take the phosphor bronze brush, and from this end of the chamber you go down, gently pushing little bit by little bit until with your finger you gauge the brush just coming out at the end. It's just coming out. Stop there and have your finger there. Then go backwards and forwards right from top to bottom, and your finger becomes a stop. If you don't do it that way, it'll shoot out the end and you'll cut your knuckle on here. So just push it backwards and forwards from the chamber end until you feel that become lovely and polished and smooth. You'll feel the difference as you do it, because when you first do this, if the gun's been a while or you've just shot, it'll be a little bit stiffer. I push that in, I've already gauged that barrel, my finger stops it from going right the way through, and I keep pushing that backwards and forwards until I feel it go really smooth and polished. There we are. Now if you look down that barrel now, you can see that that's lovely and shiny within those chambers and down the barrel. Now I need to put some oil in. So now we take the mop and we use this oil, the cleaning oil, over the mop, and don't go trying to shove the mop down this end or this end. Drop the wood through. Now this might seem remarkably simple now I've said it, but it makes such a difference. And pull it through this way. Easy as that, just the once, doesn't need more than once. Drop it through, pull it through, and there's enough oil in there now. Let me show you that. Right, now you can see that there's a fine layer of oil all the way down those barrels. Now we don't want to get lots of oil everywhere else, so just a little spraying. Make sure the ejectors. Before I do that, I'm going to just clean up any muck that's on here, because again, if we're out shooting, dust and dirt's going to get in there, need a bit of damp. If you come back off a wet day, dry your gun off, put it on the central heater or whatever, or near, not on, near the central heating, and make sure it's not the wood on the central heating, but make sure it's nice and dry it off well, straight away when you get back from your shooting, otherwise you're going to have problems. Again, wipe that over. And then a little of the cleaning oil on the barrels, and wipe a thin layer of that all over your barrel, trying not to handle the barrel again afterwards. So we don't want our sticky, salty fingers down the rib everywhere, right down and round. We don't want our fingers all over the bluing afterwards, because that would add to corrosion later. There we go. And the same here. Don't go getting all that oil inside the wood and everything. Just wipe over the surfaces. Just clean them up. And the same here. Just clean inside there. Make sure everything's had a little wiping of oil. You needn't spray in there. You can if you want, but be very careful. We don't want it all over the wood. Wiping inside the trigger guard, everywhere like that. Right the way around. Don't leave anywhere where there's metal showing. And that's it. That's all it requires. My hands have got a thin layer of oil on them now. Put the gun back together again. And voila! She's ready to go. Now I want to take you outside and we'll show you about the ways to measure a gun and how to handle and how to stand and so on. Right, what I want to do now is show you how to basically choose a gun that will fit you. Just to get an idea of when you're going to a shop and you're feeling guns or checking out guns that you might want to try out for yourself, or you want to make sure your own gun is fitting well, then I'll show you this technique now. Now there are a couple of very basic ways. The shops will have special guns that they can raise the comb on here up or down and the stock at the end, the butt, to fit you properly, the parts of a gun. But now let's just run through the most important parts for this bit that we're doing on measuring the stock. The comb, the top of the stock here, and the butt, the length of it and the height of it. Also the cast. This one is cast slightly to the right, so that when it's in my shoulder, it's coming out this way to my right shoulder. If it needed to be a left-hand cast on my left shoulder, it would have to come out that way. So that amount of cast, even though only about ½ an inch, is very important. It means that when I bring the gun up to you, then it's directly into my face, my cheekbone, and I'm looking along with my right eye directly to the middle of the camera, directly along to that bead in the centre. What I want to have, seeing about a £1 coin space above the top of the rib. So we're looking here along the safety catch, along the top lever with a coin's distance just across the rib. You can just see the bead in the background. If we come higher than that, then the gun is firing too high. Over that pound coin, then it's too low. So the comb has to be just high enough that we can just see the bead coming behind the pound coin there. There's the bead, there's the pound coin, just above it. When the measurement is correct, what I want is to be seeing over the top of this gun about a pound's coin distance. So if I hold that there and put my cheek up to it, then I want to be looking just to the bead with that pound coin just on the top of the rib, and I'm just seeing over that pound coin to the bead. Also, I want to make sure that my pupil is directly in line along the middle of the rib to the bead at the end. Right, to enable this and to get the height right, we need the stock to fit into the shoulder joint here, the pocket of the muscle directly in line with the top of the shoulder. We need my cheekbone to be down on the stock here like that, well down just onto my cheekbone, and when it's naturally there, the head forward as well, not back like this, forward. And then my eye should be in line along the top of the rib. If it's not, and I'm looking below, then this is too low, and if I'm too high, it needs bringing down. Either way, the stocks can be bent using a technique of very hot oil or steaming. Now, before we even get to measuring like that, before we even get to finding out the basics, we need to have the stance right. It's a bit like a building. If you're going to build a house, you start with the foundations and you work upwards. So we've got to get our foot position right, our body position, our legs, and then the hips and the shoulders and so on. So let me show you that first, and then we'll go back to this measuring and finish off. Right, the most important thing is that we're going to put our leading foot towards where we're going to shoot. In my case, I'm a right-hander, so my left foot needs to be pointing towards where I'm going to shoot the target. So my left foot goes out like this, and my right foot at 45 degrees at that position, leaning on my forward foot. In a rifle, we lean back like this onto the back leg, or equally, with a shotgun, we lean forwards. So my left foot to where I'm going to shoot, and my right foot at 45 degrees, evenly balanced. Then, bring my right arm up, high, my elbow up, and that should fit into the pocket of my shoulder with the comb of the gun level with the top of my shoulder. Doesn't matter where I have my left hand here, wherever's comfortable, and my right hand there with the finger just touching the trigger. Now if you're in a game shoot, when you're in the line, what you've got to remember is you've got guns either side of you, so you have to be safe. To be safe, you don't swing the gun through the line. If a bird is coming towards you and you miss it, or you want to take a second shot, you don't turn around with your gun like this or this. You bring the gun up, and then you turn, pick up the bird the other side like that. So it's important, that is, you don't bring the gun through the line. You can shoot high across, yes, you can take the target here, you can take one there, always pointing up into the sky. But if you want to take a target behind, then you turn and then pick it up behind. And don't shoot low, because you could have pickers up or dogs or beaters behind or in front. So going through that foot position again, if I'm going to be shooting in that direction, my left foot pointing where I'm going to kill like that, and my right foot at 45 degrees, just spaced evenly, bend the left knee a little, the right knee just a bit, weight forward there, and then that's the foot position correct. Now if there's going to be two targets, or a bird coming from there and from there, if the target is there first, my foot position is that way. If the next shot is going to be over here, I've got to turn my feet and then bring the gun up. Now let's get this shoulder position right again. So as I bring the gun up, I'm going to be pointing it at the target all of the time. That's the technique I've shown you earlier. So as this gun comes up to the target, it's pointing at it the whole time. The idea being that when the measurement is correct, this gun will hit my shoulder and face and be automatically directly on line with the target. And I'll be able to pull the trigger almost straight away. So we come up to the target, all in one movement like that, up into the shoulder, so out and in, and on the target, and then move ahead of the target and pull the trigger and keep going. Right, how to get this measurement correct then? An old technique to use is to put the gun into the crook of your arm and just see if your trigger finger will reach there. That's a basic measurement. And if I put this gun up into my shoulder correctly, have the elbow up, then with my fingertip just on the trigger and my hand around the wrist of the gun here, my face down on the stock, there should be 2 fingers distance between that thumb joint there and my nose, tip of my nose. So like that is the correct measurement. Also, you've got to make sure you have enough space here, or not too much space. That's called the semi-pistol grip. When my hand is around that, my fingertips should just touch the trigger. I have known guns that have had a problem because if they're too long here, you can't reach the trigger, and if it's too long, you're going to be reaching forward and pulling the gun up or down. So that measurement has to be right for your fingertip, just to touch the trigger. It's your fingertip you're going to use, not the whole finger. You don't put the whole finger round and pull downwards, just your fingertip on the trigger. Safety catch here, and as you see on this one, it's a single selective, so I've got a U and an O. I can choose before I push the safety catch forward whichever I want. I've got it on the under at the moment because that's the wider barrel, and we normally start with the under. We break the gun by pushing the top lever over and bringing it down. Now, to break the gun safely, when you break the gun, have it pointing downwards, push the safety catch across and bring the stock down like that. The gun down like that, you bring the top lever across and bring the stock down. Normally we don't bring the barrels up and down. You can do on a clay ground, but on game it's best to bring the stock down, so it's always safe. Note, the trigger finger is not on the trigger, it's alongside the gun, above the trigger. When you're standing at the peg, then you normally have the gun upwards. You shouldn't have it downwards because you're bringing it through the line of beaters. The gun is upwards, or you're walking with the gun upwards, always in a safe position, so that you're ready to raise onto a bird whenever you are. Right, back on gun measurement again. So we've got this gun right to our face now, and if we look along here, when I bring that gun up, it should come directly to my right eye and the pupil, and I should be just that right level across the top of the barrels here. If it's not correct, then you'll need this either raising or putting down here. I'll just show you ways that can be done. Right, when talking about adjusting the stock, I can put on these comb razors, they're rubber comb razors, and tape those around here to get the stock the right height. So I can put 1, 2, 3, whatever, and tape them around to raise my face up if the stock's too low. And the same with the extension here. I can put this rubber extension on here, put padding inside it to lengthen the stock for a client if I want. Another important thing to remember is to have hearing protection with you, whether it be earplugs or whether it be ear defenders. These ones are quite nice because they have radio controls on them, so that I can hear more of what's going on around me, but it does cut out the blast of a shotgun. Many clay shooting grounds now also want you to wear protective glasses in case pieces of clay are coming down, so you might need some safety glasses or proper shooting glasses. Now let's come to the correct way to carry your gun. You arrive to the shoot carrying your gun in a sleeve this way up. Don't have it that way up, because if it does come undone accidentally, your gun could fall out and break the stock. So you carry it in the sleeve or in the slip this way up. When you arrive at your peg or you're going to shoot, then you undo the top of the slip and don't bring the gun straight out. Don't do this, because nobody knows whether that's loaded or not, and it's highly dangerous, nobody's worried. Reach inside the slip and feel for this top lever, this piece here, feel for the top lever, break the gun as you bring it out of the slip like that, and it's perfectly safe. When you put it back in the same way, you put the tips of the barrels into the sleeve, you close the gun like that. That way it's safe at the maximum time. But again, take it out like this, there we go. And as I've already shown you, you close the stock by bringing the stock upwards or downwards. When you come out of a clay shooting stand, so you go in the same way, you go in, close your gun, and you're ready to shoot. When you come out, break the gun and walk out with the gun facing towards the crowd. So if that's the back of the cage, this is the front, you finish shooting, you've opened your gun, and you come out like this. Or you can come out the other way around, like this. But either way, the gun is shown as being empty and is safe. Then you can put the gun over the crook of your arm to carry it if you're a game shooter, or if you're going a long distance, you can put it over your shoulder like that, but make sure you don't clap somebody behind. Right, one more thing, we never, as I was saying about the rifle, pull the triggers of a shotgun without having a cartridge in. And it can be wise to have these. These are called a snap cap. They're an artificial cartridge, but they've got a spring inside, which you can see, and that allows the firing pin to have the pressure against the spring. If I put that into here and I close the gun and I then pull the trigger, the firing pin has gone against the snap cap. This is an ejecting gun, so it would eject that cartridge out afterwards. I have to catch it. But you see, it would have hit that, and if we didn't have that in, the firing pin could snap off because there's no pressure against anything. Some people like to have these snap caps in, 2 of them, left in the gun afterwards when they put it away with both the triggers pulled. Now with this gun, because it's a percussion model, it won't fire a second time until I do hit the end of the stock like that, and then it would fire the second fire the second shot. The second pin will not fire until that happens. We could leave that safely now with the pressure off the springs in the case. Not too much of a worry, I don't think you really need them. Be very careful about that though, because some people have mistaken putting a snap cap in without looking properly for a live cartridge. And actually no, a gun club where there's a hole in the wall where somebody's done this and pulled the trigger, and luckily nobody was in the way. Now let's just discuss this safety catch again. We keep it on at all times until you're about to fire. At the moment you're about to go for a bird, you push the safety off and raise it to your shoulder. Otherwise the safety remains on. On some guns that safety comes back on automatically when you've fired and opened the gun and close it, on others it's not. Keep your safety on, but the safety is only another precaution. The gun is not safe, and if safety was on and you drop the gun, there's still the chance of it going off. The safety is just an extra precaution. Don't think it is safe, you are the person that has to be safe. No machine is a danger unless it's with a person. The car stood still in the road is not going to do any harm at all. The gun, even if loaded, won't do any harm, but you shouldn't leave it loaded, of course. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is the person that's using this weapon that's the dangerous person. If you're safe, the gun will be safe. So you have to learn all about safety in the field, and I've already given you that poem, and I've already told you about a lot about the safety rules and regulations of this, even opening the gun from the sleeve and so on. So that's the safety catch which we can select with. That's the top lever which we open the gun with. What you may also want is one of these gizmos, a shooting stick. You can see it has a seat at one end, and so that the stick doesn't go into the ground, a flange there. You push that down, open the seat up, and I'm then able to sit down on that, pushing it into the ground. Holly here, sit down, good girl, there's a good girl. Holly here, come round here, come Holly here, sit, good girl. So the dog should be on your left like that, then we're ready to shoot. Now I could shoot from here and actually be ready to shoot like that, and just, as I'm partially disabled, I could just shoot from here. Obviously if the stick's in the ground it'll stay there, so we can get up to take a bird easily from here, and remember, behind. Now, if you're going to pass the gun to somebody at any time, we always want the gun to be in a safe position. We never swing the gun about, especially closed, ever. The gun is always open unless it's on the stand or you're going to shoot. That's the only time it goes closed. If you're ever going to pass your gun, pass it open like that, stock towards the person. Don't pass it barrels towards the person, except in special circumstances. Whilst we're on the matter of safety as well, I've shown you the way to open and close a shotgun. Whenever I pick up my shotgun and I'm about to shoot, I always pick it up and check down the barrel like that, or hold it up to the light when it's open, to see if there's any blockages in there. Now a blockage can easily occur if you're walking in snow, or you've got a little bit of mud down the bottom of the barrel here, and I've seen it happen. I've actually had a gun blow up when somebody has blocked a barrel with mud here and the end blew out. They hadn't realised, they hadn't checked. Equally, you've got to be very careful if you're using 20 bore cartridges and 12 bore cartridges together. If you've got two different guns, and you can mix them up very, very easily. The thing is that a 20 bore cartridge will slip into a 12 bore barrel like this, and you won't even notice. And then the 12 bore, you think, oh, there's no cartridge there, you put a 12 bore cartridge in behind, and the whole barrel would blow up here in the chamber and blow half your face off. So it's a very, very dangerous thing. So whenever you're going to shoot, whenever you take your gun out and break it, just check the barrels. You see this is completely hidden in there, you can't see inside that now at all. You can't see the end of that cartridge, so you don't know it's there. But it is. Using the CPSA method, that's the touch, lead, kill, follow through, let's look at a rising bird and a dropping bird, in this case rising teal. You'll notice that the gun touches the target as normal, moves with it a few feet, then moves ahead, fires the shot, keeps going a moment, then picks up the second target. Now in slow motion, we touch the target with the end of the barrel, in other words we aim at the target. We keep the gun moving with that target in our shoulder. As soon as it's in our shoulder and on the target and we're in control, we move the gun ahead of the target, which is where that black dot is just above the red you can see now. You can see the line of the barrel to that black dot. When it's far enough ahead, we pull the trigger and keep the gun going for a moment. You can see the shot going out as we keep going. The shot will then ambush the target. The target will fly into the shot and the shot into the target. At that time, having moved past the target, we continue back down to the second target,
pick up the target again on the end of the barrel, point at it, touch it, then move forward or lead it. And as soon as we're forward enough of it, you can see where the black dot is now. As the dot moves forward, as we move down, we pull the trigger and we keep going. Don't stop the gun. Touch, lead, shoot, follow through. Touch, lead, kill, and keep going. Foot position and gun mount are vital, as is making sure that you move ahead of where the target is going. When you touch the target, you gauge the angle it's going at, and when you move ahead, if the target is curling downwards, then you curl downwards. If the target is going upwards, then you go upwards ahead of the target. Now let's look at the same method on a crossing bird. A little bit more difficult, but it does show the lead more clearly. Here in slow motion, the gun starts to move up from the hip to touch the bird, always aiming towards the target. As it comes upwards to eventually mount into our shoulder, it will already be on that target. So as soon as it hits the shoulder, as it's coming up to now, stay with that target, keep touching the target, and once the gun is then up and into the shoulder, we can start to move ahead of the target. In the shoulder now, so we start to move ahead of the target. And once it's far enough ahead of the target, you can pull the trigger. And then the important thing is, once you pull that trigger, is to keep the gun going, to follow through. Touch, lead, kill, follow through. And you see the gun goes past where you've shot, continues going, the shot goes out, hits the target moves into the shot, and the gun keeps going. Even after the clay is dropping down, keep the gun going. Then the gun comes down again in one easy flowing movement, ready for the next target. Or if it's a very quick target that's coming, you can keep the gun up. Say for instance we had a crossing target and then a target going away from us. You'd keep the gun high because you want to pick up that going away target very quickly. If the target is going to be an incoming bird, then you bring it right down to take it nice and slowly. Now let's see that same target but at a higher speed. Here we go then. Touch, and then mount, lead, kill, follow through, and the gun can come down. All in one flowing movement, but you must follow the angle of the clay as well. If it goes curved, you curve. Right, so now we need to look at the position of our shooting. We're going to be having a go at a going away bird here and then a nice incomer, and I'll try to show you a little bit about the clay shooting theory, this method of touch, lead, kill and follow through, and why. What I mean by that is that when you bring the gun up, this gun is empty. I will demonstrate that to you now. When we bring the gun up, we will have the barrels pointed at the target at all times. And the slower or further away the bird is, usually the lower down I have the gun to my hip. So if I'm starting here to come up to a nice incoming bird, then I will bring the gun from my hip, pointing at the bird at all times until it hits my face and shoulder, and instantly if the gun fits, that is on target, you can see. Both my eyes are open. If you have a master eye problem, you may have to squint one down slightly, but master eye we'll go into later in the video. Both eyes are open because if I go past the bird, if I've got a driven bird, I need to be able to see below the gun to see where the bird is. If I close that eye, I can't see below the gun. But quite important. Quite different to rifle shooting. Now, the position then for shooting is going to be the slower the bird, the lower down the gun. We can have a nice relaxed method of shooting. So if I'm going to shoot a high bird, my weight is going to be on my forward foot, my left foot in my case being a right-hander, and my right foot's going to be at 45 degrees. Now, if I've got an incoming bird coming, I'm forward on that leg, bring the gun up towards the bird, and if the bird's going to go right over my head, this is one of the few exceptions where the weight would come onto the back leg. I come up like this, and I come up towards the bird, moving my hand and shoulder and legs, knees slightly like that. The gun comes up to the bird, carrying on and through, and then at this height, for the last few feet, it might go onto the back leg.